right, how's it going, everybody? This is Ismortah, and this morning during my Saturday 9 a.m. Central board game stream, I'm going to be showing you some Reign of Cthulhu. I know all this time I kept saying Call of Cthulhu. This is Reign of Cthulhu, a board game by Z-Man Games. So my plan today is to do a short unboxing as I go into how to play the game. Is going to be the goal today, show you what the game is all about. And then depending on if I'm actually able to play this solo, as you see it's 2 to 4 players, but if you've ever played a pandemic game, you know that you can basically alpha game with a group and make all decisions. So if I can make decisions for all my people, I can potentially play it solo. Unless there's a traitor mechanic if someone turns into a cultist or something. I don't know. I'll find out in the rules. But anyway, that's the plan with future potential of doing a later gameplay stream. And if you want to catch more of my stuff, I also stream Sundays, 9 a.m. Central, video games. And of course, both are on twitch.tv/Ismortah. And you can see VODs here on Twitch as well as on YouTube at Shadow Balance Games. And to keep the latest on what's happening with my schedule or content and what's going on, you can follow on Twitter at Shadow Balance. Cool. Well, let's get to the unboxing, see what's in it and what it's all about. The Cthulhu action. All right, so what drew me initially to this game is the fact that it's actually 2 games of one of 2 games that I actually do not own. So it's a combination, obviously you can see, of the Arkham horror, gothic horror fandom being Cthulhu. But then it also uses, as you can see, the pandemic system as far as game mechanics. So it's really a combination of like Mansions of Madness and Pandemic, per se. Which is cool because I actually don't own either game. And so this is a cool, really affordable way to get both. And I've actually been told that this is actually the best pandemic game out there. So I was like, well, snap, let's do it. More fun to fight the disease of an old god than just a disease. It's a twofer. All right, so let's see what we got here. So we have a pretty stylized game manual, which we will definitely get into. And on the back, it's a quick reference on all of the different investigators, what they can do, looks like. We'll get more into this. We have the game board, which we'll get out. We got a bunch of cards. Looks like 2 different types, 3 different types. Sizes anyway. Let's see what we got here. So one hand, we have a bunch of, looks like poker style size cards with 3 different backs. We'll see what that's all about. We have, looks like generic player guides on what you can do. We have some tarot size cards, but not exactly tarot. They're like tarot shaped, but they're a lot smaller. It's almost like it's a mini tarot. Definitely a lot smaller if you think of like Betrayal at House on the Hill size cards. Just more narrow, smaller, but same dimensions. Oh snap, there's the Cthulhu. But yeah, we'll do a reveal. We'll get to that. And then let's see a better shot of the board, what's included. Got a bunch of cool miniatures, looks like. So we have the different investigators, of which it looks like there's 7 different dudes. And then we have a really cool looking die. You know, like a lot of games go generic, and this is customized. It's kind of got like a marble tint to it. It's pretty cool. Different images probably mean different things, obviously. It's pretty cool. Then we have some, looks like a bag of cultists. And later in this, I'll show details to the camera, no worries. Especially when I'm doing the how to play. Combination unboxing, combination how to play. Then we got a bunch of tokens, which we'll find out what it means. And then we also have some miniatures here. These look like little horrors from, I was gonna say the dark dimension. That's Doctor Strange, but sure. Cool. And then we have the game board. All right, so let me go ahead and get out the game board and just jump right into it. And I'll display the pieces as we go through what is happening in this game. So, and one of the reasons I like doing these game unboxings and going in games that are fun and interesting that I haven't seen is, you know, it's always inspiration for future game designs as well. You can see what people have done, expand upon that, and then when other people make games, they expand upon yours. So the games that you play, just like video games or novels reads, like you keep finding better ways to do it. So the games keep getting better and better. And that's the idea with my game designs and with games that I've seen that are great, is they just keep making better and better. And that's why you start seeing some games get obsolete. It's not that prior games weren't good, it just people keep making better versions of what you liked in those games, which sort of makes them obsolete because you're creating these better experiences over time. If that makes sense. I just want to see make sure you get the stuff in the shot and at the same time not too far away. Find the happy medium while I go into stuff so you have things to look at. Okay, we'll settle with that for now. All right, so here is the game board. It's a cool looking game board, but I do have to share that it has one of the things that honestly I just don't like, which is kind of commonplace with game boards. The fact that it's really, the game board, it only is best read for one angle, and it's displeasing when you sit anywhere else. And I know you could argue with people to say that, hey man, no, I play games without time. That's true. That might be true. But whenever someone says, where do you like to sit? Or whenever you show one of these games on like a stream, you always show it at the correct orientation because it looks better. So it's just like, you know, it proves the point. But anyway, I'll show the game board closer. These are the pieces I can put up to the camera at this point. I'll also let you be able to see the stuff. All right. So anyway, you have this world as this really cool painting, and then you have these different places that you can go, which are a lot of historic areas: Kingsport, Innsmouth, Arkham, Dunwich. It looks like you have places you can go, different colors based on what it is. Here it says the bottom how to play. All right, so let's jump in on how to play this game then. All right, so there's a pretty cool backstory stuff in here, which I won't read through, but it looks pretty cool. It's about what's going on and why you're doing it. All right, so these are the investigators. We have a sanity die. And you can see even from this book how they upgrade it. Before it was this generic teal with straight edges to now it's rounded marble. It's just a cool look. Like, didn't have to do that, but it's such a cooler experience. Very cosmic-y. All right, so we have sanity tokens. We have seal tokens, which are the X's. We have cultists. We have Shoggoth figures, which you guys probably recognized if you probably more current with the lore than I am. These are old one god cards, so I guess they are 12 old one cards. You have summoning cards, which are these backs. You have clue cards, which are the ones that sort of have that steampunk look to it, color anyway. And then you have your player cards. Wait, they look a little different. Player cards? Oh, these are investigator cards. I don't understand. Oh, I see. Some of the back cards for the player cards, some of them are locations, whereas some of them are relics. I see. Okay, so actually, game rules wise, it looks pretty straightforward. It talks about as far as setup, and then how to play. And like I said, oh, this actually has sample turn and everything too. All right, so we'll go and we'll just run through that. All right, so set up the board Cthulhu in pieces. Place the board with an easy reach. Ooh, does this work for you? Place the Cthulhu Old One card face down on the board in the space provided for it. That's weird that it calls out Cthulhu in particular. So we have placed Cthulhu Old One here. Okay. And then placed occultist and Shoggoth figures as a supply next to the board. Sure. So they say next, not on the board, because you see they have dedicated card spaces for place different cards. So we'll just, we'll have a bunch of dudes. Place the seal tokens near the play order table at the bottom of the board. Meaning here, because you place it here when they're filled out, it looks like. Now, it's funny, like I was talking about, thinking about, the fact I want to play this game solo and alpha gaming. It's like, well, if you want to play a game solo, that allows you to alpha game it. But if you're playing a group, games that allow alpha gaming, it's really bad because, it's kind of like you get the feedback of other players, but one person can sort of run away with what the team should do. So, anyway, this is cool. Shuffle the old one cards and place 6 of them face down on remaining spaces. Okay, so it looks like you sort of always stack the deck. So regardless of how many old ones you have, I always call them old gods because of WoW, you always put Cthulhu here, you shuffle cut, and then you always play only a certain number of the other old ones, which is cool. That means every time you play the game, it's going to be a little different experience because you always have Cthulhu, but you don't know what other old ones you're going to have. So that's pretty cool. Keeps you coming back, seeing new stuff. And that's one of the tactics I used in Elemancers as well, is you always see the majority of your deck, but the order that you get it, or if you see all of them, doesn't always happen. Okay. Returning unused ones to the box. Sure. All right, next up is give each player an investigator, a figure, and sanity tokens. So, let's say for the sake of this, you are playing with 2 players. There's a bunch of different people you can play as. And each of these guys has a... you have your card with an ability, and then on the back, basically like a ghostly version that probably shows if you're expired or if you maybe got turned. We'll get more into that later. And you have some sort of number on the right-hand side too, which is different. That it looks like implies something as well as a profession you see at the upper right-hand corner. So I'll just show them. Here we got the magician. You have a hunter. You have a doctor. You have an occultist. A detective. A reporter. And a driver. And now that we're on the topic, I'm also going to show you all the old ones, just for shits, what they look like. So, I will show. Alright, so we got Yog-Sothoth, and I apologize if I butcher these because I myself am not an old one, and I'm relatively new in the Arkham space. Shudmel, Haster, don't say the name 3 times. Athatoth. I have to say the names really do sound kind of cosmic horror. Ithaqua. Philanthropip. Again, apologize for butchering names. That's why I'm also showing the card so you can actually read what it's supposed to be. Dagon. God. Sathaghuga. That's when you know they're really more cosmic horror-y if you absolutely cannot even pronounce the name. Yig. Probably because if you correctly pronounce the name, that's how you summon the creature. Shub Niggurath. Atlachnacha. And of course, Cthulhu. What's funny about Cthulhu is I can say it because I've heard it said so many times, but I have historically misspelled his name all the time. It wasn't until I started doing the posts for the stream that I finally learned how to spell it correctly. It's because I had to spell it so many times. That's pretty fun. Anyway, okay. So everyone has an investigator. So let's just say for shits, we have a magician and a hunter. Sure. So we'll just place it somewhere. Let me see what you guys can see. We'll place it up here so you can see. So I have a magician and a hunter. Then I want to get out the people that match those. So we got them. And these figures do a pretty good job of matching what you see on the art too. Not exact, but they have a similar pose and they're more stylized, but they work. Like there's the magician and here's the hunter. That's pretty cool. And it's really well done. The fact that they're just so small, yet there's so much detail in it. Like for example, if you look at the hunter, you can make out the frills in her hair. And even like the detail on the gun and her blouse, the belt. That's pretty interesting. Pretty good job for making such a really small mini. All right, so everyone has. You also need a figure. You need sanity tokens. So I don't know how many sanity tokens, but look, sanity tokens. Boom. Okay, the player to have most recently read a horror story is the first player. Considering we just glanced at this, we could say we are the first player. All right. Shuffle the 7 investigator cards and deal 2 to the table. Okay, so investigator card were the other dudes that we did not choose to play. Oh, these give a way that you can choose an investigator, but it's like, who cares? Just choose one for fun. They give this way so you get to choose one. Who cares? Place each player matching investigator figure at the train station in Arkham. So we start in Arkham. Where's the train station? Train station. I think it's like, I'm assuming the reason why you have, they're just, I'm assuming why it's the same size. You're supposed to play on top of it, but if you have a group of guys, you can't fit on top of it. So in my opinion, that's not the best design, but it's still cool, the actions and the look. So we'll let it go. All right, so set the game's difficulty. Depending on the chosen difficulty level, adjust the number of clue cards as follows. They could basically, you just start including less clue cards in deck. Yeah, whatever. We'll do that when we actually do the simple gameplay. Oh, it looks like I skipped around. Whoops. Shuffle all summoning cards together and place them in a space as the summoning deck. What are summoning cards? Summoning cards were the blue back. And you shuffle it, and you flip over cards to just show the starting placement. So, just for shits, I'll shuffle this just a little bit, and this we can see. I just want to have a couple guys out, just because if there's going to be like a short example of how stuff works, you want to do that. And then that's basically it for the setup, basically. Preparing the two decks. And then it looks like it's 4 pages of how to play, and then 1 page of an example play. Otherwise, at the back of the book, you just have a guide on the old ones, on what they do, investigators what they do, since they're all special abilities. So at a glance, you can see what they are. Okay, so it says flip over the top 2 cards and place 3 cultists on each of those locations. So we have the diner and the Great Hall. And so what this means too is, which is good design. Like I said, so like, even though I'm not a fan of this placement thing, because it breaks kind of the immersion of what you expect where the guy's supposed to go. The art is really cool, the theming is cool, and it's cool that every time you play the game, it's a little different. You can't telegraph how you play the game. That's one of the things, actually, if you've seen me play before, Axe and Allies and Zombies. I love the game, love the theme, but the game is so telegraphed at the beginning of the game, it's terrible, because you always start off with exactly the same stuff, with exactly the same turn order, in exactly the same position, which means you're condemned of always having the same things happen to you, basically. Unless you drastically have different combat rules. But you know what I mean? It's like, this way it's always fresh every time you play the game, instead of being boring at the beginning of the game. Or like, yeah, I'll never get to play with that sub because I always lose it turn 1. So every time you play this game, it's going to be different where the cultists start. It'll be different what gods are, what characters you choose. So it always feels a little different, which is pretty cool. Okay. So we flip Great Hall and the Diner. So we got to find those. So it looks like, and they should match by color, just like if you've seen Pandemic. So the green, it's over here somewhere. Red, it's over here somewhere. The red doesn't exactly match, which is another, UI game design flaw, I would say. The fact that it doesn't exactly match, but it's close. So if you're colorblind, you know it's a green, it's a red, it's a purple, it's a yellow. It's good they didn't choose blue, just because the green almost has a teal kind of look to it, that if someone's colorblind, you may not be able to determine a green from a red, especially since there's no icon difference, it's just the color. Which is dangerous, but because it's not even close in the spectrum, then it looks like it works. Okay, so, ooh, I love these little pieces. These like very low cultists. It is amazing the level of detail they got on such tiny pieces. Look at this guy. This guy is tiny. That's my thumb, man. Let me see if it gets you good. These little cultists. Little guy. That is pretty cool. And it's so teeny. Okay, so 3 at the diner. Okay, now I'm getting into it. It's kind of like you're fighting off zombies. You're fighting off cultists. and 3 at the Great Hall. So you look in the red area. And you know, Star Wars Rebellion did a good job of this too. The fact that if you didn't know where to look on the entire map, if you've ever played Star Wars Rebellion, when you had one of the Probe Droid cards, it would at least show you the swath of the map where to look. That way it narrowed down how long it took you to find something. So it'd say, hey, it's in this sector. And that's basically what it's saying. It's say, hey, the diner is over here. The Great Hall is over here somewhere. So it makes it more snappy, that's good design. But again, having to read, you know, if I'm trying to read to find the diner and I'm reading upside down or sideways, not a great experience. But at least you know the general place where to look. Okay, so 3 and 3. Now we flip over the next 2 and I place 2. There's a discard area for summoning. I believe it's here. And see, they have the outline, the silhouette, look like it. That's cool design because it shows you where to go, but it still kind of meshes. And it's smoky, so everything blends. Like, we haven't started playing the game yet. We're just looking at the setup, and you're seeing things that are, like, really great design, other things that, you know, possibly room for improvement. It's a new addition. All right, so next 2 cards. We still need summoning deck. They are, push up a little bit, okay. We got Secret Lodge and the Graveyard. There I'm placing 2 dudes. Secret Lodge is green. And then the Graveyard is red. And then the next 2 is where I'm placing 1. We have, is this like the world's park and police station? I have to say, this Arkham is going to shit really fast. So, definitely turn into Arkham Horror, for sure. Lastly, flip up 1 more card and place 1 Shoggoth at this location. Which, yep, you guessed it, it's green. Arkham is going to hell. Look at that. Crazy. Okay. Place all drawn summoning cards face up on the summoning discard pile. Oh, face up, not face down. That's kind of weird because that breaks. All right, face up, sure. I mean, it's because you can look at the pile afterwards. Give cards to each player and prepare the relic file. Randomly select 4, 5, 6 relic cards with 2 to 3 or 4 players and shuffle them together with the remaining clue cards to form the player deck. So you don't play with all the relics, so same thing. So that way, every time you play the game's a little different. You basically just build the relic. You build the deck with some relics, and then place it with the remaining clue cards, which are these guys, to build the deck. We won't worry about making that deck, but that's how you do it. So you have a summoning deck. You have a clue deck. Oh, summoning discards up here. I see, that's where there's an X. Summoning deck, that deck, and then once you make it, it's the clue deck, and then where you discard the clue deck. So everything's organized. And then your player cards in front of wherever the players are. And then these show you how to play the game, like I said, in a jibby. All right, so let's get into how to play the game. So when you play the game, actually let me get a sip of coffee, then we'll get into it. Already halfway through the stream, which is fine. We already did the reveal and setup. And the game, like, it's not going to be difficult to play. Like if you're playing Pandemic. Like I said, this game uses the Pandemic system. It's Cthulhu themed, basically. So, which is easy. It's basically, you're trying to stop it from magnifying, because the more its cultists are out, the greater the chance of it spreading faster and faster until it's uncontrollable and you lose. And you want to stop the growth, and you probably have to do something to stop the old gods. Maybe you fight the old gods. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so every turn, each player turn is divided into 3 steps. You can do actions, then you draw 2 player cards, then you reveal summoning cards. Again, these are the summoning cards that summon dudes. As far as what actions you can do, that's what's on this card. I'll let you know what actions you can do, which you can walk, take a bus, use a gate, give or take 1 clue or relic card, defeat a cultist, defeat a Shoggoth, or seal a gate. And there's a bunch of crap on how it's done. That's basically what you can do. So you do 4 actions. Then you reveal 2 player cards. Then you reveal summoning cards. Again, these are player cards here, which could have players. Actually, no. No, that's not right. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. No, that's right. They call these player cards, but they don't have the players. So that, honestly, it's another, I would say, design flaw. Because when you're a player, you play as an investigator, but then you call these investigator cards and these player cards. Not the best choice of words. But anyway, these are the player cards with this back. I would have used a different word. And I would have called these investigators, but it's the player cards. That's what I would have done. Anyway, just because it gets confusing on what they're talking about. All right, so actions. You may do up to 4 actions each turn. Select any combinations of the actions listed below. You may do the same action several times, each time counting as 1 action. So if you want to do multiple walks, or if you want to take a bus, then use a gate, and then defeat a cultist, you can do that. Some actions involve discarding a card from your hand. All these discards go to the player discard pile. Movement actions. If any movement results in you entering a location occupied by Shoggoth, you must roll the sanity die. Again, that's this dude. If you walk, you can move from your current location to a location connected by a line. These are lines. Take the bus. While in a bus station, you can do this action 2 ways. You could let's see here. You can discard a clue card to move to any location in the town pictured on the card. So if you have a player card, for example, that says Arkham, you could take a bus to Arkham, I believe. And then you can move to any location in that region. Or you could discard a clue card matching the town you're in to move to any location in any town. I'm not sure why they said both, because that's sort of the same thing. But anyway, sure. You can also use a gate. Move from one location to another. You can move from a gate location to another gate, but when you do so, you have to do a sanity roll. So gate to gate is a way you can move, but you have to pay sanity. Whereas if you're on a place that has a bus, you can take a bus then to any place in a region as well. But you can't just hail a bus wherever you want. You have to be at a bus station, but then you can go wherever you want based on if you have the card, that region to move to. So that's a pretty cool way to do it. Special actions, you can defeat a cultist, which is basically you just take it out. It's not like you have to do an actual battle. You just take them out. To defeat a Shoggoth, though, you have to spend 3 actions, not just 1. So that's interesting. Actions, it's not just how many things you can do, but that's also like a currency. So it has a weight to it. So certain actions take up more what you're able to do action-wise. And when you spend 3 actions, for example, to defeat a Shoggoth, it has to all be in the same turn. You can't say, I'm going to spend 1 action each turn against a Shoggoth. You got to spend it all at once. You can give or take a relic card, which is a player card that you get that instead of having a location, you actually have some sort of artifact. Like here is a... Ooh, I can show you the relics. Oh, this whole, I see here. Because see, there's relics that have a lot of different cool art, and it tells you some cool gameplay thing you can do. But then in the same deck, there's also Evil Stirs, that bad shit happens. That's probably the equivalent to drawing a Pandemic card in Pandemic. Gotcha. And then you can also give or take a clue card. Clue cards are, I believe, the location cards. Right. So, to review, these are all player cards, but there's 3 types of player cards. There's clues, there are relics, and then there's also the Evil Stirs. And I'm sure they'll get into Evil Stirs here in a second. But when you give or take a clue card, you can give a clue card that matches the town you're in to another player. Or take a clue card that matches the town you're in from another player. So, it looks like before in Pandemic, for example, you can give someone one of your cards if you're at the same location. That's not what this says. This says that if I have a card that matches a town I'm in, I can give that to any player. So you don't have to be next to me. I just have to be in the correct town of the card that I'm giving. Now, the other thing it says is like, what's the difference between a town? Is a town Innsmouth or is a town the junkyard, paint shop? I would say those are stores. Innsmouth is the town. So I believe it's the colors the town. If you want to seal gates, you discard 5 clue cards from your hand that match the town you're in. That's the equivalent of, in Pandemic, if you play, to purging one of the colored diseases. Seals a gate. When you seal a gate, place the matching seal token onto the gate, then remove 1 cultist from each location in the town whose gate you just sealed. You can draw 2 cards. You do that after you do your 4 actions, because that's the second phase, if you remember. You do 4 actions, then you reveal 2 player cards, then you reveal summoning cards. Summoning cards is what keeps spawning dudes. Player cards is what allows you to get more places to go and spend, but also you can trigger potentially bad shit as well. Evil Stirs cards, here we go. Oh yeah, before that, I'm going to show an example of one of the relic cards. This one says, the next gate requires 1 fewer clue cards to seal. Put this card next to the player discard pile and discard it when the next gate is sealed. So that's cool. So that's different abilities that you can do. Pretty cool. Okay, so Evil Stirs. This basically, it just says, hey, this event happens, and then it tells you basically how to do Evil Stirs. Which is, you fight the madness, roll the sanity die, then you do Awakening, reveal the next old one. A Shoggoth appears, draw 1 card from the bottom of the summoning deck, and put 1 Shoggoth on the location indicated. But that's interesting, it says draw from the bottom of the deck, and not the top. I wonder why it does that. as opposed to drawing from the top. That's very interesting. Shuffle the summoning discard pile and put the cards on top of the summoning deck. Ah, that's why it does that. Because if you keep reshuffle and place on the top, you can stack a deck, whereas when you draw from the bottom, it's always fresh. Okay, I was about to say, why does it matter if it's still random? It's because you can manipulate the top of the deck. Okay. And it says here, if you cannot place a Shoggoth card on the board because there's none left in supply, remember there's only 3, you instantly lose the game. So what that means is, if you haven't killed any Shoggoths, and you drew, let's say, 3 evil stirs, you lose the game. So if these dudes ever spawn, you definitely got to stop it, because I'm sure there's other ways that they spawn as well in the game, possibly. You also lose the game if you're about to draw and you can't draw 2 cards. Because whenever it's a player's turn, you draw 2 cards. If you can't draw cards, you lose. If you can't draw a Shoggoth, you lose. Man, I'll tell you, the more I look at shit in this game, the more I love it. Look at this guy's mouth, man. I'm gonna eat your face. That's pretty cool. Man. I haven't even played the game yet. I'm like, wow, this is like I've only seen Pandemic play, to be fair. I haven't played it, but just looking at the board, I'm like, wow, this is so much cooler. So, yeah, do recommend. And like I said, you know, like if you just look at this as far as I need to go to different places to stop shit, it's easy to play the game at any angle of the board. It's just if you're trying to read a location or read a town, it's problematic. But if you're just trying to say, I need to go here, how do I get over there to stop the cultists? How can I get over there? You know, that's easy, because I have to just, the orientation. And it says, as a reminder, when doing these steps, remember to draw from the bottom of the summoning deck for evil stirs, and then reshuffle only the summoning discard pile and place it on top of the summoning deck. So what that really reinforces is if you draw from the discard pile, for example, that means that this stuff has already been placed. And if you're putting that back at the top of the deck, what that means is any places that have already spawned dudes or that you stopped is going to reinfect. Whereas taking from the bottom, it's going to be a whole new, fresh location. So that's interesting. This is the first game actually seen that you draw from the bottom other than like Fury of Dracula. And this makes pretty good use of it. For like, why would you do that? Because this is reused places that you've been, and this is fresh. I do like that. That's pretty cool. Okay, you can only have 7 cards in your hand, max. If you ever have more than 7, you have to discard or play cards. All right, 2 more pages left, and then I'll show an example play. Summoning. Flip over as many summoning cards as the current summoning rate. This number is just like I did in game setup. This number is below the rightmost revealed old one, or 2 of no old ones. Okay, so like if I had an old one out like this dude, that doesn't tell me anything. Oh, I think they said beneath the old one. So if this old one's out, you get 2, 2, 2, 2, 3. So the more old ones that are revealed, you have more stuff summoned quicker and quicker until it's overwhelming. And remember, that's probably another way you lose. If you can't place summoning dudes, you probably also lose the game. If the Cthulhu awakens, you instantly lose. If you can't place pieces on the board, you lose. If all of your players are insane, you lose. So if this card turns this way, that means you're insane. Oh, I see. The current summoning rate. So you flip. So the current summoning rate is the highest old one. So if this one's if all these three are revealed, let's say, the highest summoning is 2. So you summon 2. But if you go all the way down to here, then instead you don't summon 5 or 2. You summon the highest. So when this guy's out, you summon 3. It just, if you get the summoning these revealed all the way to Cthulhu, you instantly lose the game. New summoning rates, though, if they're revealed, only takes the effect at the start of the next summoning step. If the summoning deck ever runs out of cards, shuffle the discard pile to create a new summoning deck. If this occurs in the middle of a summoning step, the cards revealed during the summoning step are not shuffled and must play in the discard pile. Shoggoth's move. Each time this icon appears on a summoning card during the summoning step, each Shoggoth moves one location close to the nearest open gate. So Shoggoths, whereas these guys look like multiply and stay, looks like the Shoggoths actually move. And maybe the cultists move too, but we'll see. Each time an icon appears during the summoning step, so the summoning cards, let's find that again. I just picked up the deck. What did I do with it? Did I merge decks? What did I do with it? Where's the summoning deck? This is the discard pile. Here it is. Okay, so here's an example. Like here's a summoning card that just says, it's up Necros, that says it's summoned here. But if you look at the swamp, the summon card, you see it also has a Shoggoth token at the bottom. And what that means is that it doesn't spawn a Shoggoth. It means it triggers a Shoggoth to move. Remember how typically Shoggoths come into play is when evil stirs. But if you get the Shoggoth token to appear during a summoning card, that means this guy's going to move close to a gate. And a gate are like these, if they were somewhere. And if the gate is sealed, that's what the X means. If a Shoggoth on an open gate would need to remove it from the board, return it to the supply, and an awakening ritual occurs instead. So if a Shoggoth ever moves to a arcane gate, sure. If it ever moves to an open gate, the Shoggoth disappears, which is a good thing because that means then it's back in the supply, so you won't lose the game. But then it seems like bad shit happens, which it triggers an awakening ritual. When an awakening ritual occurs, reveal the next old one, and then apply its effects. So these have effects. Like for example, I'll do Dagon's because I can actually say his name. Place one cultist on each gate location, open or closed. So it advances the track to you losing and triggers an ability. But I have to say at the same time, if you want to game the system, it's better to remove a Shoggoth if there's only one left than to, or none left, than to have another spawn, because you have bad shit happen as opposed to you can't summon any more Shoggoths and you lose the game. So any way to get rid of the Shoggoth, honestly. Like you gotta make sure you can still summon them. It seems. Shoggoths are servants of the old ones. Their very presence is enough to inspire fear and drive men to insanity. Cool. So we've already gone to Shoggoths. It does another review of what Shoggoths do and don't do. Well, one thing it says that I didn't talk about is whenever a player is next to a Shoggoth, they always have to roll a sanity. We haven't talked about that yet, but we will. Relic cards. During a turn, a player can play a relic card. I believe that's as an action. Oh, playing a relic card is not an action. Okay, learn to read. And when you play it, it's removed from the game. But you also do a sanity roll whenever you use a relic, because it is, you know, a divine darkness. Okay, so sanity rolls. How does that work? And then we go to play example. Players do not only need to contend with the old one's powers and their cultists, but also their own grasp of sanity. Okay, so I'm going back for a second. I don't understand, like, what's the purpose of the cultists? Like, the Shoggoth I get, but what's the point of having cultists everywhere? Like, what does that do? Other than the fact that you have cultists, that's what doesn't make any sense. I don't think I understand that you can remove a cultist, but what did the cultists do that's bad? It says what Shoggoths do, but it doesn't say what cultists do. Like what downside is it having to token one of those out? I'm trying to see if we can find that right quick. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I just don't see what is the point of the cultist. Like, cultists are out. It's like, who cares? Like, what is the point? You do a sanity roll if you use a relic. You do a sanity roll if you're doing a Shoggoth. You do a sanity roll if you use a gate. But what is the point of all of these cultists? Like it even says when you're doing sanity rolls, you can also spawn cultists. But it's like, what is the point of a cultist? What is the point? Does that spawn a gate? I can see that. Cultists get together, do a ritual, spawn a gate. But I just don't... It says how to seal a gate, but how do gates come into play? And what do cultists do? That's what I'm not finding. Well, anyway, I'll read through Insanity and see if I can find it. I just don't understand, like, what is the point of the cultists? For some reason, I'm not seeing that. It's not obvious. You move to places, you try to stop stuff. Bad shit happens, but... Anyway. You must roll the sanity die after you complete use a gate action, or if you use a relic, or if you enter a location with a Shoggoth, or a Shoggoth enters your location, or evil stirs. Basically, anything involving the old one's abilities in any way, you have to do a sanity. If you ever lose all of your insanity tokens, you become insane, which turns you from the graphic color to basically like black and white. If you're insane, you have one fewer action each turn, as indicated here, because you see the numbers different, 4 to 3. And then your special ability is also different. Like this, for example, says you may move up to 2 locations instead of 1. And when you flip it, it says you must move 2 locations instead of 1. But it says there is a cure for insanity. If an investigator seals a gate while insane, they are immediately transported to either the church or the hospital. Then you flip their investigator card to the sane side. and immediately gain 1 action on their turn. So if Investigator purges a gate, you regain your sanity. What I don't understand is how do gates summon and what do cultists do? And I think that's probably what cultists do, is they probably spawn gates. It is just not clear. Okay, so how does the game end? It's just weird, I can't find that. That also makes me think that it was just rules that was overlooked that not described. It's weird, I can't find it. Anyway, we'll try to find that here shortly. And then I'll just do an example turn. Players win as soon as all 4 gates are sealed. The players lose if any of the following things happen. Cthulhu awakens. There are no cultists left. Okay, so that's one reason why you want to stop cultists, is if there are too many cultists on the board, you're going to lose the game. So that's one reason. You don't want cultists out because you'll lose the game. If there are no Shoggoth figures that you can summon, if there's no cultists you can summon, if no cards. Basically, if you run out of supply of anything, you're going to lose the game automatically. Or if everyone's insane, or if Cthulhu awakens. So there's like 5 different ways you can lose the game, only one way you can win the game. So one thing that's not clear is how does a gate get opened though? So the cultist looks like you just want to handle the cultist because if there's too many out, you're going to lose the game. Looks like is what happens. But let's see again, how does a gate get opened? Was that just evil stirs? Possibly. That's because you have to close 4 gates. And I don't believe the game starts with gates out, but let's double check. Yeah, not that I can see. So evil stirs has it so you roll sanity, you reveal an old one, you put down a Shoggoth. It doesn't say how a gate opens. So cultists come out, you don't want cultists out. When evil stirs, you always get a Shoggoth and an old one, and sanity, and more dudes come out. So you get closer to losing. But how does a gate come into play? Let me see if we can find it right quick, and then I think I have all the rules. I see how to use a gate, but how does a gate appear? Because I don't see it on evil stirs. On the other hand, there are distinct areas in the board that are gates. Maybe those are just the gates by default. Maybe the gates are always there. Let's see here. Check this up again right quick, see if I didn't just gloss over something. Otherwise, it is straightforward. Basically, you're just moving around, trying to stop stuff from getting bad, and trying to seal 4 gates before you lose the upteen number of ways. So it looks like you have gate locations. So it looks like when you start the game, all of the gates are always in the same areas, it looks like. What's different is the gates are always out, and then you are always start over there, but what's different is where the cultists start and what your options are that you can use. And then when you seal a gate, you can then keep track of all the gates you've sealed. Or you can just keep it here. I don't see why you have to place it there. The X is pretty self-explanatory. but you can't use gates if they're sealed. But if you seal the gates, you win the game. So it looks like the gates are always out. Okay, cool. Well, that's how to play the game. And I know we're at 1 hour, so now, and we've got the rules down in a nutshell. So now let's just do a sample player turn, which includes you do 4 actions, draw 2 cards, you pet a kitty, got a little kitty right here, and then you do summoning. Okay, so let's give it a whirl. All right, so we will be the magician, little top hat dude. Actually, no, we'll do the hunter, because I said how good the hunter looks. Does she look pretty fine? And I just love the detail on this very little miniature. It's amazing, the level of detail they got on that. It's pretty awesome. Injection molding for the win. Okay, oh, I see. This is just manufactured. Okay, nah, we got it. What I'll do is I'll have another stream. It looks like there's no trader mechanic, so I can just control all 4 players and try to win. So this is what the game's all about, what it looks like, how to play. What I'll do on my next stream is show a sample game. And we'll see if we can't defeat the baddies of darkness, or maybe secretly help them win. We'll see. But yeah, I'll do a gameplay during my next stream of a sample game, and I'll control multiple investigators to try to get the job done. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. If you like what you've seen, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on Twitch, YouTube, or even Twitter. Let me know what you think, and obviously all the content you'd like to see as well. Again, this is Ismortah. Thanks for watching.